Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University. We are looking at pre-writing strategies, and this should always be put in the context of the 5-step writing process. Pre-write, draft, revise, edit, share. Again, pre-write, draft, revise, edit, share. Those are the 5 steps in the 5-step writing process. So we're looking at just the pre-writing, but it starts with an understanding that all students at all ages can write, even the first day of kindergarten. What do you say? Yes, they may rely more on picture clues than letter clues to create meaning, but they are using print to tell their story. They may need to dictate their story to you, but they can write. Write is using symbols to create meaning, so yes, they can. Students do not need to be made ready to write. The reading readiness approach, where you have to learn a bunch of skills before they let you read. The writing readiness approach, same thing. This silly notion that you have to teach them a whole bunch of little skills before they're allowed to teach or allowed to write. No, absolutely not. You get them engaged, immersed in the act of writing. Whole to part is how the human brain learns best. You teach the parts of writing in the context of the whole of writing. This is opposed to the Humpty Dumpty approach, where you break the complex process of writing into little parts, and you think you're going to create a writer by adding all the little pieces together to create Humpty Dumpty, put them together again. No. Students do not have to be made ready. They can write first day of kindergarten. Yes, they can. Now, humans have this natural inclination to share ideas that's going on in their head. Writing is a medium to do this. So good writing instruction builds on this natural inclination. But think upon this. What do we do in our classrooms to stymie this natural inclination, to make writing miserable and an unenjoyable activity, an aversive conditioner to ever wanting to write again? Well, a couple things. We frustrate the hell out of them, pardon my salty language. We make them write someone else's ideas or write and share ideas they have no interest in writing and sharing. Those are some of the things. Now, this idea that you need some super secret special strategies to teach in the kindergarten or graduate or whatever, writing is writing, no matter what the age are or level. And I've taught kindergarten students, I've taught graduate students. It's the same 5-step writing process. It may be a little more emphasis on one thing or another, but writing is writing. And as I've been working on a book about teaching writing to elementary students, I was also teaching a graduate course in scholarly writing, and this hit home. The very same things I was talking to graduate students about, I was writing about in my book. Writing is writing, the 5 steps, no super secret strategies there. All right, this is a pre-writing activity. Actually, it has to do with having ideas. Students should be able to choose their writing topics to the greatest extent possible. Now, sometimes choice means choice among options. You can write anything about topic A, or you can choose topic A, B, C, but they need choice. Not total choice all the time, but to the greatest extent possible. This is what makes writing interesting and come alive. Students are exploring their ideas, their topics, sharing their ideas. Yes, there's a place to assign a topic, but once students grasp the particular essence of writing, these skills can transfer over to more formal types of writing. So they should be able to choose. This is what motivates students to want to write. We cannot emphasize that enough. Students should be able to choose their writing topics to the greatest extent possible. This is what makes writing come alive. Students should write every day. In this sense, students are writing when they aren't writing. They're thinking about their topics even when they're not writing. At home, they're thinking about things, oh, I could write about that. This is why students need to write every day, because they're writing even when they're not writing. We would not skip reading class. We should not skip writing class. Let's call it writing practice. It should be an important part of every day, every single day. We shouldn't say that we're including writing if we just have 5 minutes in a reading class or have them do something in a social studies class. No, students need to be immersed in the act of writing, a minimum of 30 minutes every single day. Absolutely. And again, you wouldn't skip reading class. You wouldn't say, oh, we're going to read in social studies for 5 minutes, so I don't need to have reading class. No, reading and writing every day. It takes time. If students haven't been used to having their ideas valued, they may not know how to choose their own writing topics. So you may need to use some teacher prompts to get them choosing their own topics. It takes time for them to trust you. So if they've been used to having topics assigned to them every year and you get to grade 5 and say, okay, you choose, they may not know how to do this. They haven't been used to it. So if they haven't been used to choosing their own topics, it may take time for students to become a little bit more comfortable with it. But once they do, stopping writing is like turning off the faucet sometimes. They want to write and express their ideas. Now, it is okay to use teacher prompts sometimes, but these should be thought of as scaffolds, temporary scaffolds. Use them at first, but you want to wean them away to the greatest extent possible. A prompt might be, what do you want to write about? What did you notice today? Describe something that makes you angry. What are you thinking about today? But eventually, we want to be prompt-free. That's our goal, for students to choose their writing topic. And again, treat them like real-life writers. When I'm about to write a book, no one assigns me a writing topic. I get to write about what interests me in a book or an article. We need to treat students the same way. What about assessments, you say? Those so important CCS, Common Core State Standards, what about them? Students aren't able to choose their topics here, so shouldn't we assign them topics? Well, beware of the number monkeys that want to quantify everything. Are we preparing students to take a stinking test to quantify them, or are we preparing them to write? Are we trying to teach them how to write? And you look at the Common Core State Standards, and they're not written by literacy people. They're not written by people who understand writing and the writing process. They're written by number monkeys that want to create rubrics and quantify everything. So yes, you can have your Common Core State Standards and your standardized tests. You can have that, but I'd rather teach students how to write and how to think, because we're not preparing them for a stinking test. We're preparing them for life. Think about that. Preparing them for life or preparing them for a meaningless, silly test. What is the purpose of our schools anyway? And what's the validity of these writing tests, especially if topics are assigned to them? We really have to ask ourselves, do we want students who are critical, high-level thinkers? Because these are the change makers. These sometimes irritate us if we allow students to write and think and write. Do we really want to teach students to write and think? And I think we absolutely do. This is how we evolve our society. Or to pass the test, one gets in the way of the other. So think about that. We've got too many stinking tests anyway. Writing is thinking. It's our thoughts recorded down, and our thoughts become then stuck in time, what we were thinking in a particular area. And it allows us to examine our thoughts and rearrange our thoughts. Writing is thinking, and we want good thinkers and good writers. Thinking shapes our writing, and writing shapes our thinking. I think differently, more analytically, more expansively about things I have written about. And sometimes, as Peter Elbow once said, we write to see what it is we have to say. Writing sometimes enables us to think through things. And sometimes we start writing something and it leads us to think of other things and examine things. Quite often when I'm writing, I start out with an idea, but as I'm thinkerating on it over time, I realize I want to say something completely different, and other ideas come in there. So writing, real writing, sometimes enables us to see what we want to say in the first place. We don't always have a writing topic and paper prepared in our head. Real writing sometimes goes places we don't expect it to. So, getting ideas for topics, this is still a pre-writing activity. How do we get ideas or help students get a list of ideas for topics? Well, you can generate a list of writing topics. And I do this in large group many times because students see an idea and it connects to other ideas. So boys and girls, let's brainstorm some interesting writing topics, and as they see these topics on the board, they get ideas and it connects to other ideas. So I have students simply keep a list of writing topics they want to write about in the front of their writing folder, or if they have a writing notebook. Generate a list and keep a list of writing topics. I don't know what to write about, Mr. J. Well, let's go back and look in our folder. Let's see if we've got some writing topics there. Reading is a great way to get to load the writing machine or reload the writing machine. You could read expository text if you're writing about something, articles, or sometimes reading stories gives you ideas for things to write about. If you tell your students, okay, we're going to be doing a little bit reading and think about something you may want to write about. What does it remind you of? What do you want to say? So reading is a good pre-writing activity. And the last pre-writing activity to know what you want to say is the power write. This is different than a free write in that you do it quickly for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You start with a word, any word, and then you write the first word or thing that pops into your mind. You quickly associate, you don't think. And I'll show you what this looks like, but you get a pile of gravel, and in this pile of gravel, there's always 2 or 3 writing nuggets. And the goal is to keep the pencil moving. If you don't know what to write, say pencil, pencil, pencil until a word pops into your mind. And you have to model this for students. I started with the word dog, and I'll just show you part of this. Mickey, he's the best dog ever, and everyone thinks their dog is the cute. Is there an ugly dog? Well, our neighbor had a fat, furry dog, looked like a furry potato. Sweet potatoes? Is it really a potato? Does Evelyn really like potatoes? Dan Quayle, he spelled potato wrong on TV. Right, sloppy if I don't know. I hide my... See, I get a lot of ideas. I could write about hiding my mistakes. I could write about the time I booked a flight to Ontario, California, instead of Ontario, Toronto, Canada. Travel, you get the idea. You just get a bunch of words. This is called a power write. Different from a free write where you just write whatever you want with no time limit. This is kind of like a Buddhist koan. You try to get around the logical mind to see what's in the unconscious, just the first idea. Now, out of this pile of gravel, you'll always come up with 2 or 3 ideas. I would start this, maybe in 2nd or 3rd grade. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe in 2nd or 3rd grade, but definitely 3rd grade and above can do a power write. And by the way, sometimes I do this before writing. Sometimes if I get stuck, I'll do this during writing. Adopt and adapt everything. All right, some definite pre-writing skills. Now, we don't have to make this more complicated than it should be. It is simple. Keep it simple. One of the best pre-writing activity is simply to list the things you want to say so you don't get overwhelmed. And you use that list to organize your writing and your writing ideas. Now, paper is one of the greatest educational products of all time because it extends and expands short-term memory. So instead of trying to hold all my writing ideas, I see it on paper. So simply create a list of things you want to say about your writing topic. And as you list, you get other ideas. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. Brainstorming group is another one. List as many things related to your topic as you can. Use just words, list without evaluation, and you include unusual ideas as well as good ideas. The unusual ideas at least kind of enables you to connect it with things. It always primes the pump for other ideas. Get all your ideas out there. We want quantity, and then you look for groups to emerge. You look for patterns to emerge. You teach this explicitly as well. Boys and girls, this is how you brainstorm in group, and I'm using direct instruction. Start with a topic, generate ideas, look for groups, organize into groups, use groups for sections or paragraphs. I'm teaching this explicitly, and I have a poster in my classroom called Brainstorm in Group. And I say to my students before writing, remember to use one of your pre-writing ideas. Brainstorm in group, and I'm teaching explicitly. And here's an example. I brainstormed some ideas about my dog Mickey. Then I looked for groups. Oh, pug traits, getting Mickey, my dog Mickey. Interesting. Okay. So now I have my 3 sections or 3 paragraphs or whatever. Brainstorm and then group. Keep it simple, keep it simple. Oh, outlining, that's always a favorite. Doesn't have to be complicated. Keep it simple. You start with the topic, look for main ideas, look for ideas related to the main ideas. And you don't have to use formal outlining form. That just gets complicated. Letters and numbers are usually sufficient. You use that outline then to write your draft. And that draft, the outline, should always grow and evolve. You're not locked into your outline, meaning you let the new ideas emerge. And you teach and you model explicitly. Look at the topic. List important ideas using numbers. Use letter to add details. When you're done, begin writing. All right? Keep it simple. You don't have to use my steps, but use some steps. This goes up on a poster or on a bulletin board. Before writing, use one of the pre-writing activities. And this is one I did with Mickey the dog. Traits, care, my dog Mickey. Get the idea. Moving on. Web and brainstorm. Same structure as the outline. It's just a little bit more spatial. Some students like this. You start with a topic. You look for 2 to 4 subtopics or nodes. Or more, you may need more, and you brainstorm on each node, and when you have your web as full as you can get it, you begin writing. Here's a web and brainstorm. Here's the web, and you brainstorm on each node. Writing topic, 2 to 4 nodes, brainstorm on each node, and each node becomes a paragraph or a section, and then you begin writing. And we have to teach the paragraph. This is a little bit of a tangent, but a paragraph is a group of similar ideas. When you start a new idea, start a new paragraph. And here's a super secret that no one tells you. Not every paragraph has a topic sentence. You don't believe me? Open up a book. See if I'm lying. but a paragraph is a group of similar ideas. When you start a new idea, start a new paragraph. Err on the side of more paragraphs rather than fewer. And why do we use paragraphs? To organize our ideas. It makes it easier to read when you see paragraphs for the reader, and it makes it easier to write as well. You see the organization. All right, that was off on a little bit of a tangent. The brainstorm. We cannot assume that students know how to brainstorm. Even my colleagues sometimes forget how to brainstorm. The goal of brainstorming is quantity of ideas versus quality. Students do not know how to automatically brainstorm. We must teach and demonstrate. You could do this in large group, have a similar topic, and you practice brainstorming in large group. And here are the steps. Look at the idea, list as many ideas as quickly as you can, and then begin writing. Now, we have 4 rules for brainstorming, and this should be a poster in every classroom, in every boardroom, in every teacher meeting room. Rule number 1, all ideas must be accepted. No criticizing or evaluation is allowed. Bad ideas are just as important as good ideas because bad ideas sometimes makes you think of good ideas. Freewheeling is celebrated. Smarty pants comments, creative, bizarre, unusual, or silly ideas are welcome because all of these can be used to stretch our thinking and get us thinking more broadly. The goal of brainstorming, again, is quantity. The more ideas we have, the greater our choice is in finding the good ones or finding a solution. And hitchhiking is welcome. This is when you add an idea to something that someone has already said, or you combine 2 ideas. This is a technique many creative problem solvers use. And you demonstrate, I think I'm going to hitchhike on that idea, and I think you demonstrate. All right? Turn to a neighbor. Again, keep it simple. Turn to a neighbor. Explain your writing idea. And then we cannot assume that students know how to question and respond, so we have to teach them how to listen. Find a topic or theme, turn to a neighbor and share. Listen, ask questions, add ideas, begin writing. So as the writer is sharing the ideas, the neighbor wants to listen, ask questions, and add ideas. And then they change roles. Now, again, do not assume that students at any age know how to ask questions, how to listen, how to respond. So I have a poster with things like this. I could have maybe 1 or 2 or all 4 of these. And they can do this verbally when listening. If they trade papers and read, they can use this for writing as well. So it's a pre-writing activity where they respond, they ask questions. But if you trade drafts, and I'm a little off on a tangent here, but that's okay, and they're responding to their drafts, they can use the same sorts of questions or responses. All right, keep it simple. This is a good one. You start with a writing topic. Students list 4 ideas or words on top of the paper before they begin writing. When they have their 4, then they could start the draft. Boys and girls, you've got your topic. List or write 4 words or 4 ideas on top of your paper. When you've got 4, then you can start your draft. Or you may want to go 3 or 2, but they get something on the paper. Doesn't have to be complicated to be effective. Keep it simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. All right, and graphic organizers. These are most often used with expository text. Adopt and adapt these. For example, big ideas here, and then supporting ideas related to that. That's pretty simple. That one's not too complicated. Brainstorming group, ideas, and then groups or categories here. Just gives them some place to organize their ideas. Sometimes students are asked to compare things. So they generate a list of attributes here and a list of attributes there. Thing A and thing B. A comparing chart. All right, keep it simple. This is nothing complicated. The best ideas are the simple ones. It just helps students organize their thinking. And that's what graphic organizers do. Any graphic that helps organize students' thinking, graphic organizer. To compare and contrast, you can use the Venn diagram. That's a little abstract. I find a comparison chart better. Similarities, differences. And by the way, Common Core State Standards often ask students to compare and contrast, or to compare. Support a statement. Common Core State Standards ask students to do this as well. Here's the statement, ideas that support that statement. Once you have it, then you can begin to make your thesis or make your argument. Inference. Students are asked to infer, both for a reading standard and a writing standard, to use the inference question, clues, and the inference, their inference. This is used more for inferring after having read something. An inference is not simply a guess, it is a guess based on clues or speculation based on clues. The clues is the important part. The same way, a research topic. You have your topic, you put it in the form of the question, you look for data, only data that answers that question. And this is the same process I use with my graduate students when they're writing their papers as well. Important to start with a topic, but put it in the form of a question. That helps your data collection. The data is here, just data that answers the question, and the source of it over here. Adopt and adapt. Opinion. What is your opinion about something? What do you think? What are your supporting ideas? And a conclusion. And the goal is to be graphic free at some point, but this guides thinking, organizes thinking. Information or explanatory text writing. What is your introduction, the facts, and your conclusions? This is a Common Core State Standard, I think starting in grades 2. Adopt and adapt. All right, we've been looking at some pre-writing strategies and skills. Again, adopt and adapt. Keep it simple.